My name is Sarah Williams, and I am the founder and CEO of Hemp for Healthcare in Alaska. And come on in and join us. Today we are talking about how to process hemp and all the different things of ways that you can use hemp for. John left, but he'll be back. I think he's just having some technical difficulties. John Clemens with Agro-Merc. And Michael, can you pronounce your last name for me?
Yeah, Iolucci.
Iolucci. There it is. Iolucci. I spent all night last night and this morning trying to go, how do I pronounce this, guys? I know this. He's a friend. He's a longtime friend. We met on LinkedIn, and I'm so grateful for him. So come on in. Let's talk about how to process hemp today. John will be back in just a moment, I'm sure. So awesome. Okay, well, last week we covered how to harvest hemp, right? We talked about how to grow it, then how to harvest it. We just covered that with Jason Moran with Live Opulent and Justin Trowbridge with Hemp Batch Tracker. And we talked about how to use some great technology that'll help you with your you can hear the dog toy in the background. That's the joy. Okay. So be sure to check out the YouTube channel to cover that broadcast on how to harvest hemp, how to grow hemp. Some great broadcasts there with really great knowledge and great information. All right, John's still working on connecting, so we'll check in that. Okay, so today, though, I am joined by some more planetary superheroes, Michael Iolucci and John Clemens, who's coming in. I see him in my broadcast studio. His device is working on coming and getting connected. Look, he better be ready. Once it shines, he'll be on. So there we are. So he's working on getting connected there. John is with Agro-Merc out of Tucson, Arizona, and his weather is a lot more beautiful than my weather right now. Here in Wasilla, Alaska, it is 5 degrees outside, and it is cold and sunny and beautiful. And what's your weather in New York, Michael?
Oh, we're cold too. I mean, it's not that bad. We've got a little warm spike going on right now. Crazy fluctuation in weather this year. I mean, I feel bad for these farmers. As outdoor crops, it's very hard to control that, of course.
Sure is. Yeah, well, but I have some great news about that. We'll cover that in the hemp news segment. So Michael is with Flower City Hemp Company. Okay, out of New York, working on some great things. I'm super excited to hear all about the things that he's working on. But before we get started with every episode of Explaining Hemp, let's go ahead and pray this thing in. So if you'll bow your heads with me and pray, let's do it. Heavenly Father, I thank you so much for this day. I thank you for John and for Michael. Lord God, I thank you that we've picked up the cross every day, and we've just fought, and we've been pioneers in this industry, Lord God. And thank you for every moment that has brought us to this day. Father God, we ask that today as we speak to the people, that you give us the right words, that you anoint our lips, and you give us the right wisdom in order to convey to the people the power of hemp and all the many ways that we can process it into the things that we need. So, Lord God, please bless this broadcast. Please bless those that are watching now and in the future. And we thank you. We honor you and we praise you. In Jesus' mighty name we pray. Amen. All right. So I want to thank this month's broadcast sponsor of Shemp Yarn Company and our Wi-Fi sponsor of Western Ag Works. John's got technical difficulties today. We're working on that. But you're there. I see your great face. You're there. We got a slow broadcast on that. Okay. So our Wi-Fi sponsor is Western Ag Works. Be sure to check out the scrolling banner below for their information. And I want to thank them so much for sponsoring this broadcast, for sponsoring me, helping it become a reality. Please check out the sponsor spotlight of Western Ag Works on my YouTube channel, where we discuss what kind of harvesting equipment that they have available for your hemp harvest plant. So check out that. Hey. No, you dog. Sorry, I gotta be a dog parent at the moment. Okay, so now let's get to today's broadcast. With every episode of Explaining Hemp, we talk about hemp news, and I have some great hemp news to share today. We are looking at, let me bring up here, hemp industry news, hemp industry daily. Check out this headline. Can you guys see this? see this headline? See my screen here. Laura Drotleff, if you're on LinkedIn, she has a great connection there. Look at this title. Texas hemp farmers mostly spared from winter storm as other ag segments suffered. Now, isn't that amazing news for Alaska, who's worried about how hemp will grow in our cold climate? That's amazing. Now, Texas gets this big old winter storm, and man, I saw some people do some crazy things. When you put Texans and snow together, they lose their ever loving minds. But it's awesome to see that maybe hemp and its amazing frost resistance did some amazing things. Maybe it won't be so hard or so horrible to see there. We're looking at sleep and stress worries create opportunities for CBD and marijuana brands. Let's talk about this, right? COVID-19. Oh, come on. This pandemic that we've all been put through, we have no choice now. We've got to be in it. We've got to adapt accordingly. But guess what? CBD and other cannabinoids that I know John are going to bring up today can offer you a phenomenal opportunity to balance out that endocannabinoid system that the Lord gave us. So thank you for all of those that are working in the medicinal segment of the hemp industry so that we can have, some better sleep and less stress. All right. Ooh, this Delta 8 THC, that's the new sexy cannabinoid, right? We seem to have these series of as cannabinoids get discovered and released. What was that?
No, sorry, I gotta keep my mouth shut. You're doing an awesome job. I just want to say all these things are not new. They've existed in existence for a long time. They're new to us. It's the new sexy one for sure, though.
That's right. That's right. And so now it's all of these cannabinoids as we get through it. And I know John will touch on that when he discusses his segment, but we're seeing this these new things. Of course, these cannabinoids were created when God created the plants. So it's not new, but it's new to us because of our science capability now. And then we discussed last week, we discussed a bit about diversity. I have yet to be connected to a lot of diverse individuals within the hemp industry. And so I'd love to bring that more into explaining hemp and talk about that. So I think that'll be a topic for a future broadcast. We talked about smokable hemp being something people are freaking out about and running away from. We need to really work on that in our awareness. And one thing I am very, very excited about, and we'll end our hemp news here, is hemp in U.S. animal feed, right? At one point in time across the history of America and the world, hemp was a plant that grew everywhere and animals were fed it. And what was great was they have endocannabinoid systems too. So they were operating at a higher sense of, I guess you could say, self for an animal. And thus the food that they created for the people that were eating them was much more healthier than what we see today. So I really want to see hemp go back into U.S. animal feed. Do you guys have any comments on news today?
We're going to be getting into all that very soon. So I don't want to ruin the rest of the
get right into it then. Sounds good. Well, then today's topic is about how to process hemp. As we began this year, we discussed many types of products you can make with hemp. We talked about medicine, paper, plastics, textiles, building materials, and of course, hemp is also food. So then we discussed how to grow hemp and then harvest it. But now what do we do after we harvest it, right? We got to plant. It's cool. What do we do with it? So Michael and John have joined me today to discuss some of the ways in which we are going to process hemp into the end products that can replace the products we know and use today. So let's get started with some introductions. John, I'll go ahead and start with you. Can you share with my audience a little bit about yourself, about your company, and how you came to work in the hemp industry? Got slow broadcast there, John.
Certainly. So my name's John Plemons. My is Agrimerc. I'm based here in Tucson, Arizona. Oh boy. Yeah, I'm calling over data issues. I hope that the audio doesn't cut out completely. My background is mostly in the produce industry. I grew up in the Salinas Valley, California, and Monterey. Yeah. And so I huge row crops industry. We supply 85% of the nation's supply of leafy greens. It grosses about $5 billion a year, and that's the world that I grew up in. And so also growing up in the Northern California, there's a lot of cannabis cultivation. I grew up during the 215 days. So I started getting into cannabis for the medical market in 2011. And then I had already been working in row crops for a couple of years before that. And then, you know, through LinkedIn, of course, I fell into the hemp industry in 2019 and got to be the lead agronomist on a large hemp project in Southern Nevada. And now, since mid-June of last year, actually, I've been doing my own thing with my company. And, you know, I originally got into it just for crop consulting. And, you know, it's really evolved into, you know, my own brand and looking into import and export and processing and quantum computing, you know, projects that are coming onto the horizon. So it's really exciting, the direction that things are going. And Michael and I have been working together very closely, in addition to a couple of other people, really start to get this thing off the ground. It's really starting to take off. So it's a really exciting time to, you know, not just have my company, but to be part of this movement as a whole. And it's global.
It is. And I love, I know Daniel just commented here. Daniel is from an African country. Daniel, if you're with us still, please put in the comments exactly where you're from. But I love that it is global. And I love that my following is global. And I love dude, we're humans. And it doesn't matter where we live. We're one species times 8 billion different varieties. So I thank you guys all for being here. That's so good. Thank you, John, for sharing. Your audio is not slow. So thank heavens for that. And we could at least, you know, keep walking out with that. So that's great. That's great. Thank you for sharing about that. I do want to give a quick just shout out to LinkedIn. You know, LinkedIn has been where I find my hemp professionals for explaining hemp. Every once in a while, I'll find one over on Facebook, but very real, LinkedIn is the place to just go and find some of the most amazing information and connect with some of the most powerful players in the industry. So go to linkedin.com, make yourself a profile, and get plugged in. So let's go ahead and move over to Michael. Michael, tell us about yourself and where you're at, what you're working on in the hemp industry. And
Yep. So I have little notes here to make sure, because this, you know, I got all these great questions. This is an incredible host. So I just want to say thank you so much for having us here. This is it's a powerful time, and I just want to kind of just feed off of that and kind of just connect real quick with John. And John and I created a representation business in this space, and so that's really where John and I connected heavily to start. We are, you know, using his business to leverage this representation business internationally. So, you know, just a little quick shout out there that, you know, please contact John if you want to be part of our network of representation business here, representing all these incredible products and abilities to make hemp come alive. You know, he is spearheading that for our international relations and turning this into something we can really inspire entrepreneurs and creative people to jump right in. But I'm an Eagle Scout. I was the oldest of 5 boys. I have an education and technology advocacy kind of personality. I have an engineering science degree with over 120 credit hours in 2-year school. I studied 300 and 400 level chemistry and physics classes when I was going to become a physicist. I have an organizational management degree focused on servant leadership. I have a master's degree in math, science, and technology education with a concentration in math and special ed. I was co-author of Built to Fail, which I donate or gave to President Cuomo and the education reform when they came around. So that's published there in New York State as an asset. And I'm civil rights activist and researcher. That was given to New York State on October 22nd, 2012, where I designed a new education system that was vastly different than doing charter schools. So in the hemp space, what brought me here was I was using cannabis to self-medicate for ADD and anxiety, particularly through school. I started using acid-based products, in about 2010. And then I delivered my son on the side of the road using CBDA-based product from ACDC plant. And so I got a phone call coming in the middle of this. Yeah, so we started this representation business called Navitas. That eventually turned into a storefront where my wife had a cancer scare, and then my competition started defaming me. So we lost all our representation, sales business. So we opened up a store called Cannabis Cures, CUR.ES, in Rochester, which was the first dispensary style store at the public market. I was co-founder of Flower City Hemp Company and Alenia Solutions in New York State. Then right after we were the first one to produce a food, well, they banned all New York State food products. So we had to stop all our projects, but I had a CBDA brownie in November of 2018 produced commercially that we couldn't launch because of New York State. We have so our focus now, though, is on IP, genetics, custom engineering solutions, and John and I have joined forces to build this representation business internationally. I've joined Rhodes Harbor, which is a international group for the fiber industry, very broad spread, as well as the Feed Coalition. One member is part of our group. We are focusing on hemp bedding and feed and on all these ancillary technologies that we'll be talking about later. And I have several other businesses that are in the process of being launched and being co-founder of. And I can allude to some of those, but some of those businesses have not really been fully developed yet because we are in the process of just making sure that we build the structure right.
That's right. That's right. Good foundation is what matters in business, is good foundation. And I think after having failed a number of my own businesses, going, okay, look, foundation matters. Where you start matters. And so if you jump ahead and you throw it all out there and then go, oh my gosh, like I got that. No, like foundation matters. So good job. Good job. Like, I'm so glad that you shared all that, dude. I didn't know all of that about you. And I'm so thankful for that, because it just gives me even more just awe of what you've been through and what's caused you to just kind of move forward. It's great. You're so smart. I love it. I love it. Okay. So what are we moving into next year? I lost my notes. Hold on. Let me get my notes. Let me get back into it. Okay. So John, I think you're on scene here next. So let's talk about processing. John, you said that your specialty is in cannabinoid extraction. I love this topic so much because it's really how we understand cannabis as medicine, cannabis and hemp as medicine. And so the realization that we have an endocannabinoid system, God gave it to us. Every human has one, but your deficiency is different than mine. And so when we try to self-medicate, sometimes that can erupt in some bad space. Look at that thing. CBD water, praise God. So sometimes that can erupt in some issues. In my own personal self, I had a cannabis addiction for 5 years that really kind of did some damage in my life because I didn't have any solid direction as to, or a solid consistency of the medicine that I was having in my life. And so what I believe wholeheartedly is the science is that when we can reverse engineer your endocannabinoid system and your deficiency, what is your problem? What do you need? Do you need some CBD, some CBG, some THC? What do you need?
I should have just left the camera alone. Keep going. You're supposed to be talking.
I love you. I know, but it's kind of difficult with all the background noise. Just saying.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know I was making a lot of noise. I should have muted myself. Mute me, please. I apologize. I'm not good at live, guys. This is not the thing for me.
I love you. I love you. All right. So back to this. So anyway, depending on what you need for your endocannabinoid system is where John comes in. Because John can specially extract specific things. And as we learn more about the plant, we'll learn how to, I mean, there's so many cannabinoids, right? So John, tell me about how we get that extraction process of hemp.
Yeah, absolutely. So I do a small batch ethanol extraction myself. It's a very basic. It's called the Rick Simpson oil method, and that's what I use for my own small scale production here in Arizona. Most folks, the big labs, they will start off with, turning the biomass into crude, and then that will usually get turned into distillate and then into isolate and isomers from there. And so, myself or rather my manufacturing partners, they have high performance liquid chromatography systems available to them. So if you don't want a full spectrum product, you can do some continuous chromatographic work and be able to isolate compounds out of solution. And so on, the specificities between the different cannabinoids, and there's a lot of talk about the terpenoids these days. I really feel like Canada is leading the way on the terpenoid front. It's not something that, it still is a developing conversation here in the United States. And then there's the flavonoids on top of all that. And I honestly don't know.
Noids.
It's exactly. That's the next factor of my scientific research. I am a plant scientist by education. And so and there's this divine comedy aspect to all of this, that 10 years ago, when I was requested to resign from a military academy in New Mexico for cannabis usage, I came back to California and I started infusing oils and making edibles for the medical market. 10 years later, here I am, even though that, I've been working in farming and cannabis and hemp and nurseries and all this other stuff, like I'm still very much doing the same thing. And I'm really happy about that. I'm really excited for the breeding aspect of it. I'm not a geneticist, but I do know a bit more than the average bear about breeding. We've gotten to work for some really high level research and development institutions, both in the private and the public sector. And so, I'm most personally excited about this new frontier of breeding with an emphasis on terpenoid expressions, because we're barely learning about the cannabinoids themselves and all the minors, as far as the medical research is concerned and everything. And now there's more conversations happening about the different terpenoids. And so it's part of what I'm working on is analyzing all of these different certificates of analyses specifically for cannabinoid and terpenoid expression, and then getting strain specific information. And then from there, we will be able to start to do custom breeding, and then therefore, in post-harvest processing, being able to do a lot more in custom formulations with, a lot more knowledge and insight on the front end. So it's just beginning. It's very exciting.
Yeah, it is very exciting. And, I tell people, look, I don't want to shut down the pharmaceutical industry. It has a purpose. What I want to do is I want to change the input, okay? Change the input to a plant, change the input to something God gave us, because we have that science and that capability to extract all those perfect things and put it into all those medicines that are time released and controlled, that the human body does in fact need, and they work, and no doubt. But I have seen, and we've all seen, pharmaceuticals and synthetics destroy human lives. And
we don't need pharmaceuticals when we have hemp for healthcare. So we don't even need to talk about them, because we replaced them already. But when you created this consciousness of this podcast, and you told everybody that hemp for healthcare is going to change the healthcare market, they didn't realize what you meant. And guess what? One day when somebody's watching this podcast, they're going to figure it out. But we're just going to replace them and use their system and incorporate with them. Because once you take care of your own mental and physical and your spiritual health, and we then heal, take whole-based healing methodologies and we start using these plant-based medicines and plant-based products that aren't medicines, just inputs, right? Into our bodies, that we will find the right inputs for everybody. And it will be personalized healthcare. And that really stems from hemp healthcare, because we can utilize this plant to inspire innovation, to replace common modalities in healthcare. And we're going to do that through incredible education and research and things like we're doing today. And so I've gotten to the point where we're going to stop talking about the old terms that they invented, like pharmaceuticals and things that we didn't have when we just went to the witch doctor and they gave us some medicine, which would happen to be plant-based medicines. So we need to be careful, especially on a podcast like this, what we say. And I have no problem with the pharmaceutical companies. We want to work with you to help keep your people safe and well, and expand all of our lives. Now that we all know that aging is only a disease, so we shouldn't even age anymore. So let's figure it out. Like, I don't plan on aging anymore. I hope that no one else here wants to age anymore. Now that we know it's a disease, I mean, it's part,
Right. Absolutely. So with that, I bring it up because I get accused often of, well, you're going to kill jobs. Not really. I'm just repurposing those jobs. I'm just moving those people around. And what I wanted to bring up about this was that this sounds like you do need some education. You need some chemistry education. You need some understanding in plant science, and to really understand this. These are high level intellectual jobs, and I understand that artificial intelligence and technology has a role to play. I understand that completely, but I really want to encourage you humans out there that we get all upset about immigrants taking our jobs. Be prepared that robots will take your jobs if you don't improve your knowledge. So spend time dedicating your mind to the improvement of knowledge and the obtaining of knowledge, so that you can compete in the coming hemp world, because that's just what it is going to need. So thank you, John, so much for sharing about that. That was great information. So Michael, let's talk about this. We have the next level. We have the rest of the plant, right? We have the flower, and that creates the cannabinoids and all of that wonderful stuff. And yes, you can do full plant medicine, and we can get into that a different time. But we've got the rest of this plant, from the roots to the seeds, the stalk and the leaves and all of these other things. There's amazing uses for all of those pieces as well. So Michael, can you share with us a little bit about what people can use that for and how they can process? What are some of the known processing methods and things like that?
I mean, obviously that's incredibly broad, and we could have a show on every single topic, which I know you've had shows on some of these topics. So, I want to just put it back to listen to some of the shows that you've had in the past. We want to make sure that we continue to get viewership on these things, because she is putting out incredible information with incredible hosts, here, incredible guests that come on. But we have a slew of different ways to produce products. So, hemp was required by most farmers to grow. It's more nutritionally dense than almost any other crop. So it has incredible amounts of biomass that you can produce under 1 acre. So most farmers grew it and fed it to their crops and as feed. And so that feed kind of question or statement is super important. And that is really one of the breaking points in the hemp industry that has to happen this year. I mean, we are so close to getting feed approved made from hemp. And so we're on that breaking piece. People and members of my Rhodes Harbor that I'm part of is working on that, every day. They're part of the Feed Coalition, and we want to see that happen immediately. And we are kind of approaching that market with our company there, Rhodes Harbor, and we're going into the feed market. And so we have that available now, and we're working towards that. But there are a lot of regulations in all of these markets that society has created, while, over time, this plant hadn't had a time to adapt to these laws that we've created for the during time of prohibition. Every other product had time to adapt. So now we have to kind of work into these different, regulations and get it allowed. So feed is one of those. Building materials is another. I mean, everybody talks about it, and it is an incredible opportunity, but it's not seeming built out. I mean, we've been working on a project here in Rochester for over 2 years to build houses for the homeless. We have the ability, and I just found the supply. I had a supply 2 years ago to make it, and they backed out. And then Corona happened, and COVID, and it's been very slow to get some of these projects on the ground. But all of that tide is changing with feed and bedding. So hemp bedding and hemp feed or food for animals are the two largest markets that are immediately going to be accessed, and that for Alaska alone is going to be the most important, just due to making sure that everybody can eat. So like when you produce high quality food, say any vegetable or anything up there, you would eat that for yourselves, and you would use the hemp to feed the animals. And then obviously other, crops, you don't want a balanced diet for the animals. I'm not just saying feed it just hemp now. We're talking about biochar, which we represent, biochar now. So if you want hemp feed, we can put it in there for you, or, biochar, which won't be from hemp at this point, but we are working on that on some facilities right now. What we can make hemp wood out of it, hemp plastic. We've got textiles, and then reality is like we have no clue what it's going to produce because it's the biggest technology release of our lifetime. And so, with the answers to the jobs, especially for Alaska and everywhere, we don't even know the amount of jobs because we speculate it'll probably replace every job or most jobs, just like computers did. When it comes to how we utilize this as a technology release, both for us and allowing us to change society into what we want it to be through using hemp as a tool. So, if we allow, which, I want to, we're focused on education here in the future for me and design a hemp education system that we're working on, which is part of the thing in the works, is taking my design for a new education system and applying it to this industry and allowing the creativity that exists in this space, which is immense, to come on board. Because cannabis and hemp has inspired many, many people to bring their designs into end goods for us all, so that we can then barter and trade and work on these in collaborative teams with both members of the community that are interested, patients, and people that are just wanting to learn, students, and professionals, that can help be there to guide them and facilitate the direction as people learn, and creating an application or program here that will be able to, all come across all the globe to help incubate and build this industry and this network together even further. So I honestly don't know what it can be turned into, because I get amazed every day by the things that we represent and we work with and how it can be applied, and then how other sciences and technologies can get their final research and development in with using hemp as part of the research to make it so that they can actually prove that their technology works. So then I can go to John and go, John, you have all the massive farmers in the world. We can now use this technology because it's proven, because these guys don't want to take $1 billion industry and try something out for fun. They need to have it researched and proven, so that when they put it out in the field, they know what's going to happen. There's no question. It's going to double yield. It's going to, lower half the amount of nutrients. It's going to make it so it can't have any diseases. I mean, some of the technology that was released this year, and I don't know how much you looked into it, but hemp was one technology that was released a few years ago, of course. But, there was like 6, or 7, or whatever patents that Tesla had was released this year. So the technology release just started with hemp, and now we get to utilize hemp as the tool to do these research studies and bring in the international community and universities that may not even have local laws to allow them to do the research, but utilizing our international network can leverage the resources from our network to do those studies together, so that we can build this infrastructure in a meaningful way and not in a way where we're, guessing, because unfortunately, like I said, the big money doesn't guess. And so they've actually allowed a lot of time here for us to play and mess up and wait for opportunity. But, the way we come together is really how we can take it to the next level through, this international representation business, which is incredible, the network that we're creating, and then utilizing research and education programs in every place in the world as, international research centers and for sustainability and, systems really is what we're looking at in material sciences. Because really, when you look at the plant, THC is like nothing, especially when you learn that there's Delta 8 and not 10 and all these other cannabinoids.
Yeah.
And so that, that's one in like, a billion of what that plant can do. And so we're just on the verge. And so, I want to swing back to where my other focus really is coming towards now, and that is the hemp feed and the medicinal market, because we've been brainwashed through a lot of things through this whole prohibition period, and cannabinoids really don't matter when you can have precursors of cannabinoids. So terpenes are more important than the cannabinoids when it comes to the medicinal value, which we kind of hit on in some cases. People believe that it was THC that healed you, but that was part of the propaganda, right? So you don't necessarily know that that's what it was, especially when you talk about Rick Simpson's oil, and that's full spectrum, all plant material, including chlorophyll and other things that aren't even close to cannabinoids. So we can actually then, I was informed. Okay. So people, again, inspire me. So Mimi Johnson, the person who has a patent on omega-6, omega-3s, and amino acids, which are all GRAS-approved products and have been researched from other, other ways to get them. And so they're very, very heavily proven. And so the real cool part about it is that hemp and the seed oil has the highest omega-3s in plant-based materials. And so we can extract that and have an omega-3 supplement that has been well proven. I don't know if anybody has ever heard about fish oil, but that's a very, very popular way to get it. In Alaska, this would be an incredible thing. And the reason why it would be incredible is think about all the fish oil that comes out of Alaska that you're killing fish just to get its oil. And we can naturally produce it right on your land and provide an alternative omega-3.
I'm vegan.
Omega-3 source, right?
Killing animals to get my food or my.
But you mean to get your supplements, right? Like there's so many old people that are on omega-3s out of fish oil from Alaska, and we could replace all of that with grown in Alaska hemp that made for food, for both feed, for humans and animal supplements at pharmaceutical level. Her patent replaces 400 pharmaceutical drugs immediately. So, we can, introduce this into the veterinarian, into the animal market first with hemp feed, because it's all GRAS approved. And we can really prove people what the magical power is, because it's not about the cannabinoids. The cannabinoids, the reason why people are using cannabinoids like me and many other people is because of the deficiency in omegas and the toxins that have been put into our bodies from the environment. And so, or, other things which we don't need to talk about.
I'm going to interrupt. I'm going to talk about that real quick, because it's been something relative in my life this week. I was working with a payment processor to try to help me get my website back up and running for payment processing. And they required that I removed an article that I did a blog post on that called out the FDA for allowing artificial ingredients and chemicals in our food supply, but yet they won't allow CBD or natural supplement into our food supply. And so they wanted me to remove that article. And I said, I will not censor myself to work with you, because the people need to understand that in America, they allow this in our food supply. They allow these chemicals in our food supply. And then you wonder why we have so much mental, emotional, and physical health problem. When you go to another country like Europe, England, they will not allow those chemicals in their food supply. The same food companies create food for America with chemicals, and the same food goes over to England without chemicals, and you tell me they're not trying to control us? I don't think so. So It's a huge issue about that. We can talk about, because we're going to do a hemp as
I don't want to focus on that today. I mean, but it is serious thing. And I'm so happy you said it, because I don't really I believe in a lot of these things. And that's what it came down to is that with cannabis being taken away, be honest, a lot of this happened really right after the war, during the World War II, when they were reconstructing the societies around the globe. And hemp was part of that control, because there was other countries way ahead of us using hemp technology, and we could not have that happen. So there's a lot of different pieces when it comes to the true history of why we're here. But that's why this tool has been, this plant has been held away, because they know it's a key to our success in becoming together and learning how to be self-sufficient and with our with our environment. And so we're in a very key moment when it comes to that. And food security is going to be the largest topic of this year, probably for the next 4 to 5 years, until that is solved. And I don't know how much you know about the dams breaking in China and the food supply breaking down, but the food is going to be important. So if we can take care of our animals with the food that we can grow, that is weather resistant, that can grow anywhere on the planet, no matter if it's rudolphus or it doesn't have to be a flowered plant. We can then feed our animals and then provide the high quality food to the people, and demand that, right, as we advocate for health through hemp for healthcare, because we're going to talk about the sustainable systems. And that is extremely important to realize. And so,
let's bring it back to that real quick, Michael. So let's bring it back to Alaska, right? This all started as hemp for healthcare in Alaska. Then it grew into hemp for healthcare in America, and we'll discuss that in a moment. But just this past week, I was so incredibly blessed by Jeremy Luciano, Brent Allen with Global Hemp Solutions. They took time out of their schedule to come on a webinar with state and legislators, state representatives, staffers that we recorded, in order for people to come and really understand what the Great Alaskan Hemp Processing Plant Project is looking like. The realization is, I called up these farmers and I said, hey guys, here's my idea, hemp for healthcare. Would you grow hemp? They said, oh, that's a great idea. We know we need self-sustainability. We're on board with you, but where are we going to process it? Oh, right. Okay, that makes sense. So it became this realization that if you build it, they will come. And so we needed to create a Field of Dreams concept that we build the processing first, and then the farmers won't be a problem. I'll be able to find my farmers. We have a ton of land here in Alaska. Come on, we're 3 times the size of Texas. We got land. Not going to be a problem with that, but where will we process it? And so Global Hemp Solutions came and did a phenomenal presentation on how on their hemp processing plant solutions. And so I wanted to take a moment to watch one of their videos. It's only 1 minute and 51 seconds, so bear with me, friends. Come with me along on this journey to watch this video and understand a little bit deeper about the fiber uses and the applications. So let me know if you can hear it.
Hey, how you doing? This is Vinny Villatoro from Global Hemp Solutions. What you can see here is a fiber processing facility for hemp that is fully automated. 45,000 square foot facility that can process up to 20,000 pounds of hemp hour. But what I want to show you here, the things that you can do with hemp. I love this pictures because you can see the house. It was built with hemp blocks. What I can tell you is that we're not experts in hemp blocks, but the materials that people need will be provided by the hemp processing facilities that we are planning on building here in the U.S. It is beautiful to see the benefits, the thing that hemp can do. In this case, are using earth for the hemp blocks, but it's really good for insulation as well. So you can see it's not only for houses. can use it for automakers. The panels with the short fiber for non-wovens. Look at what kind of manufacturers are using those mercedes that seems when they're being used for the parts, but not only parts, vehicles. 100% vehicles have been built. If you are looking into hemp fiber processing facility, just give us a call. We have all the information that you can use. It will be great to see this great country building hemp fiber processing facility.
Boom. So that covered it. Like that, those little pictures right there were in that presentation. And if you would like, just a big shout out to Global Hemp Solutions, which are now GHS Industries. Okay, they're now GHS Industries. Jeremy Luciano, find him on LinkedIn. Go to globalhempsolutions.com. Totally recommend working with those amazing individuals. They have all the numbers put together. They have all the equipment you would need. But that's just to process fiber, hurd, grain. But then you also need other technology to process cannabinoids and to process for taking that fiber and making it into textiles and making it into clothing, and then taking that grain and making it into a food supply. Like, we just have so many pieces to this puzzle that we're still looking to put together. But for the state of Alaska, we make 4% of our food supply. Did you hear me? 4%. That's it. Everything else, everything is shipped in from a barge or an airplane or a truck. So when COVID-19 comes and y'all tell me that I can't get anything and my shelves are bare, that terrifies me. And it terrifies me for the sake of my people. So here in Alaska, we need a food source. We need a homegrown food source, and hemp is that answer. I love eating hemp. I eat it on nearly everything I can put it on. If I eat too much of it, I get like these like too much zits, because like it's super oil rich and really heavy in those omega-3s. So just understand that there are many ways to process hemp. And what's important though is the equipment that you use. And so we will be discussing that next week with Luke Costello with Mock Technologies, and you know, probably someone else that I'll bring on throughout the course of the week, and really discuss that. So let me mention real quick about what is Hemp for Healthcare. If this is the first time you've been joining us, thank you. Welcome to the broadcast today. Please subscribe on Hemp for Healthcare in Alaska on YouTube, or follow our Facebook page. Wherever you're watching this, make sure to hit the follow button and join the journey, because we're here to bring hemp to a place of planet-saving proportions. So the Hemp for Healthcare model is simple. Okay, we grow hemp, then we tax it at a reasonable rate, and we take that money and we put it into the healthcare fund. Okay, what healthcare fund? A state centralized healthcare fund for your state, right? So then what we do is we process that hemp into the thousands of products that we know are capable, and we sell that hemp on hempforhealthcare.com in brick and mortar Hemp for Healthcare branded stores, and all across the state of Alaska, state of California, state of Arizona, state of New York. And we sell hemp. We buy hemp. Why do we buy hemp? Because we fund healthcare. And we fund the industrial hemp prison program and the hemp houses for the homeless. These are social improvement models that will drastically change how we do business as Americans. Okay? It's a socialistic benefit with a capitalistic mindset. That the more hemp we buy, it's better for the planet. The more carbon emissions we absorb, the more toxic metals we clean out of the soil, and the more biodegradable plastic we create, and the more durable fabrics we create, all with the hemp plant. So then what we do with that money is we take that profit from hempforhealthcare.com and we put that into the healthcare fund. And we pay for healthcare for you, for your children, for your family, for everyone in the community. Why? Because a healthy community is a prosperous one. So healthy Alaska is a prosperous one. Healthy Arizona is a prosperous one. A healthy New York is a prosperous one. And that's just as we can all agree to that, right? So when you buy hemp on hempforhealthcare.com, you're supporting this broadcast. You're supporting me. You're supporting my efforts to continue to get this mission out there. Can I do it alone? Absolutely not. I can't. I'm one person, and I need you. I need the entire hemp industry to say, yes, we can do this. This is a great idea. America deserves healthcare for everyone, but not the healthcare system we have now. It must change, and it must grow up, and it must become to understand spirituality, and we must take out those artificial ingredients and those other things. And so the whole goal here is to heal the people. If we heal the people, we heal the economy. So we create with hemp self-sustainability, economic independence, the ability for people to make everything they need out of one plant. So that one day, if Alaska ever had to close her borders, her people could be taken care of. If ever we had to, America, 100% close our borders and stop doing business with China and stop doing business with other countries for whatever reason, we could take care of ourselves. And that's what this is all about, is building green infrastructure right in your own backyard for the hemp plant to become really a hemp-based economy. And the reality of that is it can happen. And so that's what I fight for on a daily basis. If you love what we're doing, please support me. Go to hempforhealthcare.com, click the donate button. $10 is an amazing gift. 50, 100, anything. I'm so thankful. Right now, we're looking for a broadcast sponsor for next month's broadcast. So $50 would get your name in that scrolling bar right across that thing. And it would also help me continue to move forward with this. So please consider sponsoring. Please consider being a part of this amazing mission that we're seeking to put forth. So I want to thank John, and I want to thank Michael for coming on the show and talking about these things. John, how can we get a hold of you if we have more questions about, what we're doing, and how can we support AgroMark? John, you're muted. It's a slow process there. John, you're frozen. Okay, John, for now.
All right, well, John in the AgroMark, you can get a hold of him and the representation business and the whole sort of genetics and all the pieces that he brings to the table. And we also are building custom hemp facilities for application purposes. So we know what end products you want, we can produce them. We do work with Robert Zeiner, who has the same technology Global Hemp Solutions has, but adds on his automation. But we also are working on systems that are specific to applications that cost a lot less than those systems because they're developed for end use versus a broad use spectrum. Their products, they produce incredible products and can be put into many different industries, but the system is very expensive. So if you want to do feed and bedding, there's a lot cheaper ways to do that, and we can get that set up for you so that you can immediately get into the hemp space without so many millions of dollars potentially. So there are easier ways, or not easier, but different ways, because we do need all of it. There is so much hemp that we need to put into this market. We could never have enough. So every piece and every person that's fighting for this space is important. And Jeremy is an incredible person. I've been working with him for a period of time, as well as their financing group there at Patriot with that team. And so there are incredible people moving in this space today, and I'm just happy to be part of it with you. We have Rhodes Harbor, where we have an international group coming together for feed and hemp processing in potentially Sydney, Nebraska, outside of Colorado. We have a prison project in New York that we're turning into an education research center, as well as material science and sustainability center in New York that we're doing right 5 miles from the border of Canada. So we have incredible assets and projects that are coming together. This year is the year for hemp to show the world what we can do to help with sustainability, and that's just again being one of the tools that gets flushed out as we realize that there's all these other ancillary technologies that never got their chance, that hemp gives its chance to be utilized through research to prove how we can change the world together. And so, you've done an incredible job here for us to create this platform and spread the word on, how it can be part of the entire sustainable system. Well, when we realize that, when you take one thing out, I know a lot of people like talking about, the bees, and how if we lost the bees, I mean, that's kind of the same thing with cannabis, right? We lost the cannabis for so many years. And what did it do to our systems and society that we can now fix through adding it back in? But we have to be mindful because we forgot the applications. So give us a call if you have any application. We can help you with it in an advice or consult. We're here to expand this whole network together. And so we know it takes a lot, and everybody's gifted at something. And that's where we're going to really, focus on unlocking everybody's particular talent and passion in this industry and give them a place to play. And that will inspire a lot of us because that was something I really wanted. And we've been, pushed back many, many times on having a place to play. When you start off putting an application to put a rosin press right at the public market, start pressing rosin in front of customers 3 years ago, people are not really, ready for that type of education yet. So we need to make sure we take it one step at a time, and we allow individuals to explore where they're excited about, because this industry has so many pieces that, no matter what you're interested in, you can find a spot in hemp where you could be interested too, whether it be the biodiesels or the plastics or the wood or the 3D printing or, there's just so many aspects, we're even getting into water science. So, I appreciate this call. You can get a hold of us, and I'm sure you'll have some information at the bottom or something where you can click. I'll send you a bunch of links so you can have connections to some of the things we talked about. But we're here to help because it really starts with the farmer and every individual, because, cannabis is personal.
Right. And with that, just like we say in recovery, you have to meet them where they're at. And so when it comes to an understanding of cannabis and hemp, you have to really meet them where they're at. And so as I present to the legislature this coming Monday to the Labor and Commerce Committee about what hemp can do for Alaska, I've got to meet them where they're at. And I have to help them understand that, I have spent the last 2 years of my life building 3 years, 6 years. What am I saying? 6 years of my life building a network of individuals that are already working in successful hemp industries and already have this knowledge. So all I need to do is take what they've got and put it and apply it to the best of our ability to Alaska. And so it's amazing as we watch this. And it looks like John's having some technical difficulties. But I know that I will go ahead and put in the YouTube version of this, I will go ahead and put the links to his business and contact information for both him and Michael on this. I want to thank all of you who joined us today and interacted with the post. Thank you so much. It's been just a phenomenal journey. And so moving into next week, please join us because we're going to talk about specific equipment that is used to process hemp. So we'll talk about some of the extraction equipment, and we'll talk about some of the fiber equipment. We're going to get a little bit more in detail about some of that equipment and give you some resources to contact regarding that. So thank you so much for joining me. Please join us next week, same time, March 13th, 9 a.m. Alaska Standard Time. Come and we'll be here. And so before I let you go, let me bless you and send you off to be the world changers and planetary superheroes that I'm calling you to be. So may the Lord bless you, and may he shine his face upon you. May he be gracious towards you. May he keep you. And most of all, during these times, may he give you peace. In Jesus' mighty name I pray. Amen. So God bless you. God bless America. God bless Alaska. We'll see you guys next time. Thanks.